believe it has gotten worse. And I've been hearing a lot of people saying that they're worried about this Venezuelan gang. And I don't really believe that they realize the severity of the Gaza and Palestinian war, how it affects us here in America. And I believe they think because it's many miles away or hundreds of miles away that it doesn't affect us, but it does because we've been paying for that war without our consent. That's the reason why the food prices, the gas prices fluctuate, the food prices have gone up. We are, without our even saying okay to it, we are paying and funding that war. And evangelicals, they're into Christian nationalism. They have funded this war with millions and millions of dollars. So recently, there have been a lot of people who are in support of black reparations. They noticed recently that that whole talk had fell flat recently. So if anybody had been following that, if you're aware of that, it fell flat. Well, I'm going to tell you one of the reasons is because they're more hyper focused on this Gaza war between the Palestine and Israel's um, country. And so it's about money, power, control, and basically taking over a whole nother country. And a lot of people are not aware that the war, it does affect us, even if it's indirectly, we're affected because we end up paying more money for the goods and services that we use because that helps to fund the war. So people who don't really read or people who don't understand or they're just not aware of what's going on, they're only worried about what happens when it's something that directly impacts you. They don't see the bigger picture. The reason why I would believe that those criminal gangs, they're being orchestrated by a top person. So they're organized crime, believe it or not. They have been told to take over that apartment building because that apartment building in Aurora, Colorado, it had a history of rats, roaches. It was already neglected. So a lot of criminals like to take over buildings that they know no one is really protecting or they're not really taking care of it. And one way to do it is pay close attention to what's going on in the world and seize on that moment. And really, to be honest with you, that is a warning sign. If a gang can come from another country and just take over a whole entire apartment complex that they already have, apparently they've done their homework. They knew that the place was going to be boarded up or shut down. They want to take it over and use it as a hub for their business. If it's sex trafficking, the drug trade, and whatnot, which I believe that's what they're doing. They're trying to expand their business here in the States. And so they've been following this war as well. So they know it's going to get worse. And so what do criminals do? They seize on the moment. And so when they know things are getting bad and they know nobody's checking for those areas, the places that are disinvested or they're real lackadaisical about any security or police involvement with trying to track what's going on in the area. They know it's people of color. They already have been paying close attention. They know they're we're basically they have internet. They're watching. They got cell phones. They know and they know how to speak not only Spanish. They know their home language. They know the English, and they have family already here. So get it together, guys. You guys don't realize that this thing is going to get far out of control. And so that it is getting worse. And even the people in Israel are protesting against Netanyahu because they are not happy about what just happened recently, where there were like either 5 to 6 hostages that were murdered. And I'm hearing they're American hostages. So this is a red flag. So something bad is happening, and it's not just the Venezuelan gangs you're going to have to worry about. So let me be clear on that. The Venezuelan gang is forewarning of what is about to come. Pay attention to all of what's going on. So evangelicals are what you should be more worried about because they're into Christian nationalism, which doesn't include black folks. So we're going to be thrust into a time like as if we're going back into the 60s. What they want to do with Project 2025 is take us back to Jim Crow, which is really a black apartheid here in America. And so that is more of a problem than any gang that is out there. Because when you have a whole system in place that brings you back to a time where you have no rights, and women, black women, you have zero rights. So you can be raped, you can be beat, you can be assaulted, and your cries are going to go unheard because if you have no rights and you're not viewed as human, then you can't report it, even if you try to report it. And if the laws change where there is no civil rights, that would include black folks, then everything is out the window. That is more of an issue, more of a situation where they can allow lynchings, they can allow police shootings. There's a state here in America, and I don't hear anybody talking about it. They're more concerned about a Venezuelan gang taking over their apartment building rather than police, which they are around you all over the place, turning off their body camera. We just had a woman that was killed in her own kitchen in her house. I don't know if it was Ohio, but it was one of these states, and that's not in Venezuela. It's not people coming from Venezuela. This is people that are here, basically taking over and telling you that they can legally, because they have enacted the Fifth Amendment, that they can turn their body cameras off. That means it gives them the right to say, like, spew the narrative again, oh, I thought she or he had a gun. And so I don't think you guys realize just how more of a danger and a threat that is to the black community than a Venezuelan gang. When the police can turn their body camera off and then they can just come into your house and they can shoot you. So go look it up. So if one state can enact that law, the other states seem to follow like a domino effect. So we're already seeing the signs of them trying to wiggle their way into changing and reversing everything that we as today enjoy as freedoms, which are very fragile and limited. So for those of you that are not really paying attention and you are worried about a gang taking over and infiltrating your apartment complex, you got bigger things to worry about than that. That gang, that's just one symptom of what's going to happen. They're basically forewarning you of what's to come. If they're able to get over here and do that, they're basically telling you, guess what else is about to go down? And they've been doing their homework. They've been looking. They see this war is getting out of control, and a lot of things that people take for granted are unchecked. So They see that there's great divide here in America and a lot of prejudice and discrimination. And it is about race. It's not only about race, it's about power, it's about control, it's about money, and it's about controlling people and the masses. So here's the thing, pay more attention to what is going on, because that war is to evangelicals, they see it as the second coming of Jesus Christ. Believe it or not, it sounds crazy, but to them, religious wise, that's the way they look at it. And they're not using a black Jesus, they're using the white Jesus, the one that is whitewashed. This to them here in America is their country. They control the narrative. And so that is what people are not seeing. And I fear that we're going to end up being thrust back into a new Jim Crow. Black people, you need to read, you need to pay attention to what is going on, and don't let anybody tell you don't watch the news, because if you don't watch the news, you're living under a rock and you totally don't know what's going on and you're out of the loop of things. It involves you. The reparations talks had fell flat. You know why? Because evangelicals are spending all of their money, millions of dollars, funding that war. These are the religious groups that you guys pray to. I know some people didn't probably pay attention to this either, but there was a golden statue of Donald Trump they were rubbing the belly. There are loyal supporters of his. They look at Donald Trump as part of the religious plan, that he is part of the Armageddon of bringing back the second coming of Jesus Christ. He was sent here as the messenger. You think I'm BSing you? You guys probably don't even know what this is about, and you're like, what the hell is she talking about? Read it. Evangelicals have everything to do with what is going on right now. They are actually the biggest friends of Israel, and they have been going on over there and supporting the war efforts. This is what you guys pray to. So for those of you that don't understand, you better start listening. You better start being more alert and aware of what's going on, because it does include you. And even if it's something happening millions of miles away, you bet your bottom dollar that we're funding it indirectly. And those that are funding it directly are the religious groups that you go and pray to or pray with. Not even really being aware of what you're praying to. They're killing babies, they're killing old people, they're killing women, they're killing innocent people that have nothing to do with the decision makings of what's going on with these wars. So that is why you see on both sides people protesting, people in Israel protesting because they want a ceasefire. You have people in Palestine, they want a ceasefire, but you notice it isn't stopping. It just seems to get worse. And it drags other countries into the fight, and then we'll be dragged into it eventually. And it will affect us some kind of way. And when you have countries fighting like that, all chaos breaks loose. We all lose. And I'm not talking about just we're going to run into this person and we're going to run up into this person's house. No, they are using missiles, nuclear warfare. Missiles kill thousands of people. And if you're talking about nuclear missiles, that can kill millions of people. Animals, children, people, old, young. It doesn't matter how many it kills. It kills millions of people when you're talking about nuclear warfare. This is what those wars consist of. That's a lot more deadly than a gang. Get it together, people. I don't think you realize how serious this is. That we're going to be thrust in the throes of something. And if we go back into a time when you guys make it where you're voting the couch, you're not voting, or you're talking about withholding your tax dollars, you're only hurting yourself by not filing taxes. You're only hurting yourself by not filing taxes. You're not hurting them, and you can get yourself in trouble. That's just all the more reason for them to try to, we don't need that on our plate, do we, as black folks, to get locked up and be in federal prison, you know? So who wants that, you know? So it's like, pay close attention to what is going on, even when you think it's something that, oh, that's something happening in that country. I've heard young people say, oh, that's happening in that country, that's far away. But they don't know how far away is actually closer than you think.